Welcome in to our Scars and Spikes pre-match show. It's Lady United takes on DC United. Henry, I was not expecting that to stop so abruptly.
Yeah, it was
Not
a
sure what
little.
happened, but
We have to rough out the technical edges there, but we're
right,
getting we're doing fine. You know what?
yeah,
Let's keep rolling, man.
better than Bayern Munich, but that's another story. Yeah, good to and Dortmund, I should add, but yeah, good to be back at Lady United, back on the pitch, Henry, for the first time in a while. So they take on DC United at Audi Field. Sydney and Henry with you, taking you through the pre-match festivities here from our respective homes. Before we get started, Henry, I didn't tell you this before the match, but before we get started, we want to give our condolences, our thoughts to those in the Texas area. The match between Austin FC and LAFC has been postponed due to just the terrible flooding there, just loss of life down there in Texas. I think it was 20 dead at last check. Henry, when I saw it yesterday, I don't know what the loss of life is right now, but Austin FC and LAFC opting to postpone their match due to the weather as well, but out of respect to those that have lost their lives. So we definitely do want to give our thoughts and condolences to those who have been affected down there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this kind of stuff is always, it's a terrible part of the world that we live in, and it's
Yeah,
always just terrible to hear these things happening, and you know it's horrible, and
yeah,
I've had no more words for it. I really do send prayers out to everyone who's affected by this, and I hope everything goes well in the end with that, and
yeah.
yeah, just prayers for everyone who's dealing with that.
Indeed, indeed, and definitely praying and thinking of them throughout this night and throughout the next few days here, as folks try to get their lives together down there in Texas with the flooding. Tommy's here with us as we talk about LA United versus DC United, but I do hear lineups are out, gentlemen. So let's
It
talk and
is.
react to them as
Saba,
we see them.
Saba, Saba. On the
Saba,
left,
you got
on the
your
Saba
you
left.
got your wish.
on the
You got
what
your
in
wish.
the world is this lineup, y'all?
Well, let's talk about it. I'm going to show it. Let's talk about it right now. Will Riley, so we do want to call that out. Will Riley is starting. I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, Will Riley is starting. I'm just going to read it out. So we mentioned that Henry before we got started, but Saba Lujanitsa back in the starting 11. Efra Morales getting the start this evening, along with Luis Abram, Brooks Lennon on the right, Saba on the left, as we said, Riley, Cleek, Miranchuk in that three-man midfield, if you will, and then Latilat Almiron up top. Tommy, first reactions to what you see.
Well,
What are your thoughts?
I did bet Benteke for a hat trick.
Probably a safe bet, honestly.
No,
I,
yeah.
I I think this game is going to be a lot of fun because when
Yeah.
you get two teams that are very mediocre together with talent, and I think
Bad.
that they got both teams have talent, so this could either be one of the worst games we've watched all season, which says a lot, or it could be the best game that we watch all season. It could be very similar to those last two home games that we had against Orlando and Cincinnati, where it's complete chaos, and I'm going
No
for
in
chaos.
between. No in between. You going for straight chaos to this evening? Any surprises in the starting 11 though for you, or is it pretty much what you expected?
What does Cobb have to do to get an opportunity?
Yeah, that's the big question. That's the big question. Like Noah Cobb, we talk about him all the time. Hey, he belongs as probably a starting center back next year. He has the experience. He has the certainly talent. The start underneath him, but still, again, on the bench, kind of passed over by Efra Morales So be interested to see what the thinking is. I'm not sure. Dial hasn't talked too much about it, but yeah, it's pretty interesting to see Cobb on the bench once more. Henry, I guess he kind of hinted at some of your thoughts. I mean, what's your overall impressions of the starting 11 tonight?
Well, when you look at the graphic, it's set up in that 3-5-2 that we've seen from this team over the past several games. However, I really do not think that that's how it's going to run. There you go. You put it up on screen. I really don't think this is what it's going to look like. And the big
Yeah.
what would you call it, giveaway for me is Amador and Saba on the left.
Mhm.
Because Amador doesn't really play as a center back. I mean, his whole thing is that he can get forward and can contribute in the attack. And if you put him at the center back, well, then he can't really do that. So, what we saw in training this week was the team practicing more in the 4-2-3-1 shape that it started the season in. And so you will probably see the back four of, center back pairing Abram, Morales, Brooks Lennon and Amador, your fullbacks, and then Saba and Miggy on the wings. Miggy on the right, Saba on the left. And then Murinchuk would probably be your 10, Latte Lot, your one striker, and then obviously in that midfield pairing, you have Cleach and Riley, which I think is good. I think that's good balance. Riley can cover more ground for you. He is more of he gives you a little bit more on defense. He can shore up kind of where Cleach doesn't really give as much to you in defense. And so it can actually help him to be further up the field and help this team carve out better chances, potentially in transition or whatever they're trying to build. My main concern is this whole thing of Miggy on the wing again, because,
Right.
It didn't work to start the season because Miggy would cut inside so much. And we talked to him about it this week, and he said, yeah, I mean, I do feel like I'm cutting inside more, and it's because I get impatient and I really want to help the team. And okay, that's cool, we get it, but by cutting inside so much and not staying on the wing, he's actually kind of hurting the team in a sense.
Yeah.
So I am looking for him to stay out wide more. You are sacrificing Saba being on the right for him to be there. So you got to make it worth it. I mean, we're talking about Saba, a player. We've said it before. He plays better on the right. He has 6 assists this season from playing on the right.
Plays on the left tonight again.
You're moving him on the left because, and this is the sacrifices you make for Miguel Almiron, right? So that you can play Miguel Almiron, you have to move Saba off of his strongest spot, right? Because
at least he's starting.
Miguel Almiron wasn't working. Yeah, because Miguel Almiron wasn't working on the wing, you had moved him into the 10. He didn't work at the 10, so you moved him up to the second striker, and that sacrificed kind of Latte Lot's effectiveness because he stopped scoring. Look at the stats. Latte Lot stopping, not scoring started when Miguel Almiron moved to the striker pairing.
Yeah.
And so we're back here hoping that this will unlock Latte Lot again, that maybe Miggy has learned his lesson, that he'll stay out wide, and that y'all can beat a DC side that has been pretty terrible this season and is in a similar situation to Atlanta United in regards to points, in regards to performance. This is, the one road game this season that it feels like they have to win. And I think maybe going back to this formation will help them do just that.
Does Mateus Click score tonight? Yes or no?
Revenge game. Let's go. Why not?
Brace.
It's MLS. It's Atlanta United. Anything can happen. Sure. Why not?
A brace. Tommy, you were laughing. What does that laugh mean? Do you think he'll score? Do you think he won't score?
Hell no.
No?
I think Latte Lot scores.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. No, let's talk about Latte Lot. I mean, obviously, we all know he hasn't been able to find the score sheet since forever. And, we talk about, is he getting opportunity? He's getting opportunities. He's got opportunities, guys. But he hasn't been able to take them. And that's the most frustrating thing, is a player that you paid how much for, or paying how much for.
Don't remind me.
Isn't able to find back
It
of the
ain't
net
making money
still.
though. It ain't making money.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't. It definitely isn't. But no, I mean, we have to. I mean, not start discussing it, but this is moved from when he gets opportunities, he'll score to he is getting opportunities and he isn't scoring, and it's very worrying that he's not finding the back of the net. Is it confidence? Is it just talent? Is it just adjustment to MLS and adjusting to other teams or better teams, or just I don't know. Is it an injury?
Frustration.
Frustration? I don't know. It's could be a lot of things, but he's got to come off of this duck sooner rather than later. And if he doesn't, this team can't move forward.
Well, let me say this. When I was in Columbus, I was in the second half. I stepped down, and I was pretty close to the net there, and I saw Latte Loth a couple times, and you could just tell on his face at times. And I didn't watch the Apple cast. I wasn't
Yeah,
going back to watch that.
yeah,
Gray did that. Let's
yeah,
give
yeah.
Gray some credit for going back
Exactly.
and listening to it. But I mean, the faces that he was making, and then you saw the fight that he kind of got into in the first half, when he thought he was going to win that race to the ball and have a scoring opportunity. I mean, he got very physical with the defender because he was just so frustrated. Then you flash back to, you flash forward into the second half where he's got that opportunity, and it just goes wide, and
Yeah.
you look at his face and it's like he's
Here we
either
go again.
going to go on a streak or he's never going to score again. Like that's just the how it looked to me with him. Frustration is obviously there for him because
Mhm.
he had, I mean, golden boot toss prior to the season, not by us, but by like MLS. I mean, they were
Yeah.
picking him obviously as the up and comer, and he just hasn't been what some of the other guys that have come into this league this year. So he's
Yeah.
obviously frustrated here. So I don't I'm not sure. I was going to ask you this because I'm on my phone. Is Benteke officially starting?
Well, let me check. I think he is, but
We'll
I
check.
think
I
he
would
is
assume
starting.
Thank you,
so,
guys.
but
Well, he
here.
came off the bench last game, and I think he got maybe like 25, 30 minutes. It's pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Like they did like a complete hockey line change. All three forwards came out, and
Right.
Benteke and two new guys came in. It was funny.
I think
Yeah.
he is starting.
Yeah. DC hasn't released a lineup graphic as of yet, but we would assume
He's
he's probably
starting on
good.
MLS Soccer.
Okay.
Okay,
So yeah, that
thank you.
settles it then. Trio Atomic in the chat asking who do we think we will win, and I feel like that's a bit of a loaded question to ask if you're talking about Atlanta United. I know I said yesterday. I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday. In fact, in terms of scoring, but I think it's 1-0 DC. I think DC United is going to win this match. Henry, I was watching your interview with Dave Johnson, who, of course, be on the call on local radio in DC, is talking about the struggles that DC United have had, at home this year, sort of similar to what was going on with them last year. 2-5-2 this season at Audi Field, DC United, where I'm sorry, no, not 2-2-5, 2-5-4, 2-5-4 at Audi Field. Last year, 4-8-5. So trending toward a little bit of a worse season at Audi Field than they did last year. But I mean, the parallels between Atlanta United and DC United are striking. A high-paid scorer or high value scorer that can't find the back of the net, lack of opportunities for your top player, your top attackers, poor defensive play. DC have allowed 39 goals this season. Atlanta have allowed 37. Really, an inability to get anything going. DC just 17 goals coming into this match. I mean, that's just very, very poor. Atlanta have 22, but it's just very, very poor. Benteke has 6 goals. John Peglo has 2. Kijima has 2. Pranani has 2. And then you have 5 players with 1 goal apiece. That's not good enough for a team like DC. And Benteke certainly with just 6 goals. in just 13 matches. Or, yeah, he's obviously frustrated, and I think he will score tonight. And kind of to run it all up, I think DC does win. Like I said, 1-0 with Benteke scoring and kind of
Did
breaking
you say
the
1-0?
goalless streak. Yeah, 1-0 DC. You disagree? You have a
Well, I said
prediction
it
of
was
your
going to
own?
be one of the two. You went one. I'm going the other. I'm going chaos, baby. I said 3-2 DC.
3-2
I don't know.
DC.
3-2. I want fun. Look, we've watched some pretty terrible games, but when I looked at Columbus, the game against Columbus, that midfield had no organization, really had no idea what the other one was doing here. Now you get a little bit of extra time off because of the Miami match being rescheduled.
Right.
Did that give them enough opportunity to be able to fix things to look a little bit more organized? I have my doubts here. So that's why I'm going full chaos in this mode. And I think that just both teams don't know what to do defensively here. And we're just gonna
Yeah.
just goal, goal, goal. And let's have fun. It's a holiday weekend. We need to have some fun.
Yep.
Do you know how many
Fireworks, 4th of
times?
July.
Yeah. Do you know, before Henry gives his kind of prediction, do you guys know, without looking, how many times DC has scored more than 2 goals in a match?
This season or in
This
general?
season. This
Ah.
season.
Maybe twice.
They have not
I'll say
scored
once.
more than twice. They have not scored more than twice in the match this season.
Wow.
They've only
Not
scored one
more
goal
than
a game?
twice. More than twice. More than twice.
So
Oh, more than
or-
twice. Oh,
2 or
okay.
less.
Yeah, more than twice. So they
Man.
scored 2 goals. Yeah.
pathetic.
they
They're
scored.
definitely scoring 3 then. They're
Yeah.
100% scoring 3.
Right.
They're
Right.
due.
If I'm reading this correctly, they only have 6 matches this season where they scored at least 2 goals, but they've never scored 3. So, it's kind of Atlanta's kind of in the same boat. So I don't want to wreck too much on DC United, but that's just kind of the state of their attack. All right, Henry, what are you thinking?
Well, for me, Benteke gets at least 1 or 2 goals. I feel like this is a good game for him. And
Came back from
I mean,
injury, yeah.
he won the Golden Boot last season despite DC not making the playoffs, which it's still a wild stat to me, and it just shows his quality. And so this is a team that gives away a lot, Atlanta. I mean, and so I think that there will be opportunities for him, and so I think he at least gets the 1 or 2 goals. But then again, it's not like DC has too much on their defense. I mean, it's one of the leakier ones in the league, and I haven't looked at the stats. I don't remember how many they've conceded, but it's up there.
Well, it's
Do you think you just said
20,
37?
37?
39, yeah. That's
Oh,
right.
39. So it's up there with like one of the highest conceding in the league. Then again,
Only the
didn't they lose?
Galaxy have given up more goals with 42.
Shout
Yeah,
out to the Galaxy last night. Sorry.
Yeah.
And DC has lost like 2 games this season by like 5 or more goals. So it's yeah, I think Atlanta at least gets a couple of goals. So
Yeah.
but both teams are so mid to the point where I don't think either one is going to win. It's just going to be a 2-2 draw.
I think Med is fitting it nicely. Really
Probably, but hey, I want to believe that this game matters.
Yeah. It kind of does, because I think what was Dave saying yesterday, how many, or the other day when you did across the pitch with them, how many points DC would need down the stretch, because if you look at the standings here,
The same amount Atlanta needs
yeah,
+1.
Exactly. So DC have 14 matches to go, including this one. Atlanta have 50 matches to go, including this one. So if you look at last year's playoff teams, the playoff qualifier in the Eastern Conference, the 9th place team at 40, which was, of course, Atlanta United tied with DC. Atlanta advancing, though, via goal differential tiebreak. So now you fast forward to 2025. Atlanta has 17 points with 15 matches to go, plus including today. DC on 18 points with 14 matches to go, including today. So to get to that 40-match threshold, you're going to need to do some work. And in a big way. So Atlanta United, they need 23 more points out of a possible, and I'm just doing some quick napkin math here, 25 points out of a possible, or 23 points out of a possible 45, to maybe, to try to get to that 40-point threshold that they reached last season, which, I mean, it's going to take some doing, let's be honest with
Okay.
Yeah,
ourselves.
screw the math. I mean, we're sitting here making calculations and everything, pulling out the abacus, but like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if Atlanta. What needs to be the worry? Win this game. Win the game
right.
that is ahead
Yeah,
of you. And then we'll start doing the calculations and maybe if the stars align, we make the playoffs.
you gotta start somewhere. You gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. And if you're going to start anywhere, this is where you build momentum, right? Against a DC side that is similarly struggling. You need a road win because you haven't gotten one all season. And then you're
Yeah.
going away next week to another team that, they're not great. They're literally these three teams are together in the standings. It's DC like 12th,
Yeah.
Toronto 13th, and Atlanta 14th.
Chicago. Well, and then you got Chicago after that.
Okay, yeah,
At
but
home.
Chicago is a different animal. We'll get to them in a sec. But worry about building the momentum with these two away games that you have left. And so that way you have 3 home games after that you can carry the momentum in through to that. And if you put together some good performances there, maybe we can start talking about the math. But for now, I just want to worry about this game and playing some decent soccer, scoring some goals, and freaking winning, man.
Yeah, you have, but you have to at least think about it, though. You have to at least.
No, I'm not thinking about it right now. I'm thinking about the win. Win this game, and then we'll start thinking about it.
I agree with you. Don's having a few technical difficulties there. We'll try to get him back in shortly, but there he is. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. You want to put the cart before the horse, but certainly, if you lose this game, I feel like it's going to be very difficult. And the runway is getting shorter and shorter. Chicago, who we mentioned, are 11 points ahead of you right now, with the same number of matches to go, and they're kind of teetering just a little bit. Things are setting up, pretty decently. Charlotte's dropping like a rock. New England's okay. DC, I always talk about them. TFC, pretty much, I feel like making it, or maybe a little bit toward 2026, barring a miracle. But yeah, just worry about tonight. I agree, worry about tonight. That being said, you have to have some threshold, or you have to have some mindset of where you need to be or where you need to get to the postseason. And we keep saying anything can happen. There's still time. Well, not really, because even the draw doesn't do you any good. So at this point, just focus on, like you were saying, just getting 3 points tonight, and then see what happens from there. Any thoughts? Final thoughts?
Let's just see some beautiful soccer for 90 minutes of a game. That's what I want. I want there to be some goals, first of all. Hopefully Latte La gets out of this slump that he's in, the goalless slump.
Yeah.
And that we finally kind of see the DPs work together and really click and find themselves. This is what this team needs right now, is for these guys to show up. And then on the other end, stay in control of the game throughout the entirety of the game. Don't let the heads drop after, halftime, like it has in so many games where it feels like, I'm scared to watch this team start a second half at this point, because it's where they're most vulnerable. And yeah, I just want to see a solid performance for all 90 minutes. That's literally all I'm asking for. Is it too much to ask for that? Hopefully not.
That's what we have to see the whole year. So hopefully, we get to that point finally, July 5th, 2025. I'm at SH Wrights on X. SH Rice at B Skies at Social on Blue Sky. Sid H.Soccer on Instagram and Threads. Henry is at H.A. Hagita on pretty much every social media platform. Tommy is at Tommy ATL96 on pretty much every social media platform. Tyler, who wasn't able to make it, is ATL Pilgrim on every social media platform. We collectively are Scarves and Spikes, the letter N, Spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky, Scarves and Spikes, Instagram Threads, and Scarves and Spikes Facebook, scarvesandspikes.com. All latest news analysis and opinion. Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. And that's it. That's the plugs. That's the show. We'll see you next time.